I went to Manifest, the Manifest show a few weeks ago, and AI was, of course, the buzzword. A few years ago, now I was not at the show, but they said that AMRs and material movement was the buzzword. So I guess it changes every couple of years, but AI is definitely changing the game. I use it to try and help me write things, research things. I don't think that's going away.
Welcome to another episode of the Freight Forward podcast. I'm Matt Dixon, and today we have Jamie Callahan from JLC Robotics doing some cool things in the logistics and robotics space. Jamie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about how you got into robotics.
Thank you. I got into manufacturing, if you will, in 1993 to date myself, working for Ford Motor Company. I was an average laborer, if you will, running machines, working in material handling, loading, unloading trucks. In 2001, I got into skilled trades, became a machine repairman. So I went through an apprenticeship, which was schooling hours, college hours, technical school hours, and shop floor time with a journeyman. And once I completed that in 2005, a year later, Ford came with a buyout, and I went back to college to finish my bachelor's degree. And since that time, I've been in technical sales and or some kind of a product to help manufacturing, material handling. In 2015, started doing a lot of work with Toyota, with lift assist and effectors, things like that, material handling, line side equipment. And in 2021, a company from Japan approached me and said, "Hey, we've got this really cool robotic cart. We've got them here in Japan and in Asia and some in Europe, but we're not in the United States. Would you take a look and maybe want to bring this over?" And so I looked at it, did some research, liked what I saw, liked what I heard, and decided to take the plunge. And I started JLC Robotics in 2022. And since that time, we've added two more brands that we can talk about. But basically, we're focused on automated solutions for the labor shortages, safety, and or productivity gaps.
Very interesting. So the aha moment, was that just the executive talking to you about their robotics program that they had?
Did talk to some of the executives there. So what I did was I went back to people I know within Toyota because they have those particular robotic carts in Japan inside the Toyota factories. And instead of just signing on a dotted line and spending a lot of money, I needed more information. So I went to the Toyota people. They said, hey, they like them. They work. They've had them for several years. They've only changed out batteries. And so from there, I decided to start the business.
So you mentioned the robotics unit that will move stuff around for you. Is that the Thouser AGV? Did I say that right?
Correct. And we look at Thouser as a mix between an AGV and an AMR. An AGV is kind of old school where it would run along the tape, and they were kind of dumb. You had to, put stuff down on the floor for them to follow. And now robotics have went a long way with both LiDAR and vision. And so it's kind of a hybrid, but it can carry and it can tow, but it can also run autonomously. It has a really cool feature called Follow Me, which you can push a button literally and the robot will start to follow you, but still have obstacle detection.
Well, interesting. So what type of devices does that replace, like forklifts or carts or people?
All three, actually. What you can do with this is, again, where it really shines is two areas. One is pick and pack. So if you can imagine a picker getting an order and has to go pick, 4 of these, 8 of these, etc., through aisles of product, they can have this robot follow them through the aisles. And so it takes away the pushing and pulling of the cart, which is good for the team member. They're maybe not as tired at the end of the day, depending on how much weight they push and pull. But where we really shine is if once they're done with their pick, then they can get to the robot to a specific start point and send it off to the shipping or the next packing operation, whatever it is. They can go right back to picking, and therefore the company gets its ROI. On the other hand, we shine in replacing tuggers and or forklifts. So as you know, most people are trying to get inside the four walls. They have an area where they've got doors, and that's where everything comes in, is staged, and then it's got to get to some area in the plant. So instead of having a 8 to 11,000 pound high-low driving through areas, you could make a train, if you will, and load the product up and have it autonomously go and be dropped off. So there's more things it can do, but those are the two areas where it really shines and has almost no competitors.
That's really cool. So you also mentioned before we started that you said it's simple to add one of these machines. Tell me a little bit about that, because it doesn't sound very simple.
It is actually simple, and when people actually give us the time of day to look at it, they're like, you got to be kidding me. But what you can do is you can literally push a button on the robot that says, follow me, and the robot will follow you. But if you also hit record either on the unit or on the app, it will follow you around. Let's say we went in a big rectangular movement, and then we come back and hit play. It will literally run what we taught it to do. So if we taught it to follow us in figure eights, it would run in figure eights, circles, or what have you. But we can also teach it to pause at intersections to get inertia out, especially when towing. Let's say there's a walkway where someone's going to be able to go to the cafeteria, the restroom. We always teach it to pause there. We can teach it to stop at certain locations where it does not move until someone tells it to go. But basically, the Japanese took something that's probably really difficult to do and made it really simple. And with the follow me function, it simplifies it. It does not need Wi-Fi. So a lot of today's AMRs, they have to map the environment to know where they are. This one does not work that way. It can run, again, without Wi-Fi, no laptops, no engineers needed. It's the KISS method, right? But on the flip side, it's not going to be as smart as an AMR to go be able to be told through Wi-Fi what to do. So this one is more A to B and what we call orchestrate. If it's orchestrated by humans, so let's say you have something come in from the outside, it gets loaded up, you send it to the line, it drops it at the line and comes back. You have people orchestrate its movement versus software, right? And that again simplifies it. And some of the companies we talked about before this started where, you either been doing it the same way for 40 years and you really don't want to change, or those who have been used to automation for years, there sometimes doesn't seem to be a middle ground with that. But this product, I think, once people learn about it, is a really good first step because it is so simple and versatile to use.
Yeah, that does seem like a good middle ground. Like goes into their environment versus making them meaning the warehouse workers, go into the tech environment, which they're not used to.
Exactly. It can be overwhelming, especially when we first come in and show this to someone. Pick your person, and they hit the follow me button, and it starts to follow them. It's kind of creepy at first, but then after a while, they warm up to it, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they start naming it and getting used to it. It's really fun to watch.
Big old dumb whatever the name is, right? Because they're kind of like dumb followers. It's just like a little puppy.
Exactly.
So tell me,
where Thouser comes from is their logo is a dog. It's like best friend, right? It's going to follow you wherever you go.
That's pretty funny. So you talked about the rapid deployment. What does that really look like? Is it days, weeks, months?
In this particular product, the Thouser, it is literally minutes. When we get these in a box from Japan, there's a little bit of assembly to get the joystick and some things set up. After that, you could literally push the record button, have it run a route, get it back to a start point, and hit play, and it will run that route. You could literally be running in minutes. Or if someone wanted to only use it for follow me, you can push the follow me button, and the robot immediately starts following you. It's, again, that simple.
Who's this product for, and who's saying no to that? Because it seems like almost like a no-brainer.
Good questions. The people who don't want to use this type of robot or doing something different, like a lot of AMRs that come in and lift up and take something and carry it and drop it down, or have powered conveyors, things like that. It can do it, but it's really not where we want to focus the efforts. We're trying, again, to keep it really simple where humans are orchestrating what's happening with the robot versus the software. When we get it in front of the right people, they do not say no. We've had one, I take that back. We had one where they got like a 40% pick increase, all these great things, and they didn't buy. And I still haven't gotten a reason why. So that one makes me scratch my head. The price is, to me, pretty attractive. I mean, they start under $30,000 and they max out at around $60,000. And we've seen ROI in as little as 6 to 8 months, depending on the utilization rate and the hourly rate, up to about 14 months. Our challenge is being a small company and bringing something in for the first time. It takes a lot of time to educate, find the right people who may be interested, and then let them do their due diligence and wanting to make sure they're making the right decision. So all that, of course, takes time.
Yeah, interesting. It sounds like, do you have an ROI calculator for them to use?
Basically, we ask them if they'll tell us. I mean, we go in, we find out what kind of weight they're moving, we look at the environment, and those two things are going to dictate which size of robot and the smart level of the robot. We immediately tell them, here's what your price is going to be. And we ask in return that they tell us, how much do you think you can use it? What is your utilization rate? And then we can find out, okay, if you're moving, if you're not having someone walk X amount of hours a day, pretty much the math does itself. So the sale happens with numbers, right? Versus some kind of snake oil salesman trying to tell you how great something is, which is another point. We meet with people. We tell them up front what their costing is going to be. And if they're like, hey, we're interested, we have the budget, we have the pain, we like to create videos for them. We jump out in front of the robot showing how it'll stop for safety people. We show them how it's potentially going to look in their place. Now, we can't always make it look exactly the same as their application, but we try our best. And then again, they can get the pencil and calculator out and figure their ROI. We do all of that before a sale is done. And then we also like to bring it into their shop floor to make sure it works there versus in better conditions, because we don't want to sell them something they don't need. So we always like to get in their facility and get this thing running for a day or two and make sure everything's good.
Excellent. That sounds pretty straightforward. Tell me a little bit about your in-motion charging. How does that work?
Yeah. So the in-motion charging is called Kapow, and it's really cool. I will say there's some really good products out there in the wireless charging if you have the time to stop. But most people, when they buy a robot, don't want it to stop because then it's not making them money. Again, it's capacitive, which is cool because you don't have to worry about inductive. Some of the challenges that inductive has is you drop a wrench or something on it, something's going to spark or maybe make the wrench or whatever it was, fly across the room, something like that. So with this, what we do is we look at if someone has AMRs, which is usually the case, they have the AMRs. We look and see what they're doing. We look for some pick and drop points where we can lay transmitters. So every robot has to have a receiver to receive the power. And we can plug into as little as 120 volts, which is a normal plug-in for most places. So you don't have to drop 480 to 240 and have those expenses. So as the robot runs over the transmitter, it starts receiving power. And we're able to set these transmitters in the route. So we can do it statically charging, or we can do it in motion. So therefore, your robots do not have to leave to go charge. There's usually a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 work ratio. So every 4 hours of work, it needs an hour to charge. And this alleviates that. You can literally get 100% uptime from your robots in regard to charging.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then does that work with all the other robots that you sell? That wireless charging?
Yes, it's brand agnostic. So we've talked to customers that says that's really cool because if I have 2 or 3 different brands, I don't have to have 2 or 3 brands of chargers anymore. It's one charging system. So we save money, the customer's money, one of 2 ways. One way is if they have not bought the robots yet. We've had customers that were looking at big fleets, like 100 robots. So the manufacturer says, well, you need 120 to 130 robots because of downtime due to charging. So when we come in and say, okay, that's probably $1.5 million at $40,000 or $50,000 a piece, whatever they are, we're going to save you X amount. We're usually we're definitely more than 50% of that. We're usually more like a third. So it's a good story to tell. They don't have to buy those extra robots and they're still going to get their uptime. Or again, if they have the robots already, we come in and we retrofit them with receivers and some hardware, place our transmitters down, and then again, the robots can stay in their routes and not have to deviate to go charge.
Excellent. That
Yeah,
sounds like a pretty good solution. Just
it
turnkey,
is.
right?
It's really starting to get traction. That's the newest one to the marketplace, but there's literally nothing like it in the world. So we're trying to take it and run as fast as we can with it to tell everybody.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, right? Get the word out,
Yes. Yes.
and that's why we all do most of the things we do is to get the word out. That's the hardest part.
Agreed.
So who's your ideal customer? Is it manufacturing, 3PLs, distributors, all the above?
Yeah, so good question. Depending on the level of where they are with automation or not, we are working with manufacturers, we are working with 3PLs, and we are working with warehouses. So those are the three pillars, if you will, that we focus on.
Is there a group that's adopting more quickly than the others or any lagging behind?
Automotive is by far at the tip of the spear with automation. Again, before we jumped on this call, if you drive through Detroit, you'll see Automation Alley. They're so used to it. The ones that lag, and of course we don't mean that disrespectfully, are a lot of the warehouse. But in a way, they haven't had to have automation, right? Maybe some shrink wrappers or something like that. But as we talked, they may be experiencing this labor shortage because people don't want to come into a building for 8 to 10 hours a day. They'd rather, again, maybe drive Uber or go work some part-time jobs and have more freedom, so to speak. So I think that there's maybe even back to the 3PLs where it's more difficult to find labor than it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Everyone wants to work remote, and when you're moving stuff around, the stuff isn't, you got to be where the stuff is, right?
Right, right. But the challenge that I think that the warehouses have, and I almost plead with them to make sure, you go to these trade shows and you see these beautiful shiny objects moving, and you think, I want that, and then they buy it. And, I've heard of them buying like $1 million software package, and they don't have the internal horsepower, though, to handle it. It looks great and it sounds great on paper. But again, when you're dealing with an automotive company that has 4 and 5 engineers deep, a lot of the warehouses don't have that. So even if this thing works great for 6 months and then there's a hiccup, they're having to make a phone call outside to have someone come in and fix it. Is that a week or two of downtime, or is it a month of a mess for them? Things of that nature. So they are smart, though, to take their time and due diligence to try and find the right middle ground, as we talked about. So yeah, I would say we try and tell them, hey, be careful with that, because there are some gotchas that we've seen that people maybe not know about, like with an AMR being able to come in and lift something and take it and drop it down autonomously. Okay, great. You're willing to buy the robots and the fleet manager. Well, did you know that in order to be able to pick those things up, you have to have them sitting at a certain height? Are your carts and dollies, or is your system set up for that? If you've got a 50 or 100 or 1,000 of those, that's all cost. That's all time that someone's got to come in and retrofit and things like that. So I'd like to do a better job on my LinkedIn page to talk about some of those gotchas and add some value for free for people, because, in my mind, we're all Americans here trying to do good business, do good work, go home to our families and enjoy ourselves and do it again tomorrow. Right. And so if we can help each other with some of those gotchas, we should do that for each other.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think makes you different from your competition?
I would say, and that's a good question, I would say that our products, us being the first ones to bring a few of these in, has given us a leg up. I would also say our background, me coming from Ford and working with companies like Toyota and some Fortune 50 companies, and being able to use best practices and share those best practices. Of course, not proprietary information, but best practices. And then some of the people on our team with the backgrounds that they have mix really well. And then I would say our heart to do business the right way, being transparent as we can, trying to watch out truly for our customers. Again, I think some of those things take time, but once you build a relationship with a customer and they know you have their back, it'll come. There's no use in trying to shortcut that. It takes time to build a relationship, but when you do and you do it the right way, it's really hard to sever it.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you're building a relationship, not being transactional. That's the key.
Exactly.
That took me a while to figure out.
Yeah, it
So,
can.
yeah, it can. So where do you see this market going in the next 2 to 3 years?
I went to Manifest, the Manifest show a few weeks ago, and AI was, of course, the buzzword. A few years ago, now I was not at the show, but they said that AMRs and material movement was the buzzword. So I guess it changes every couple of years, but AI is definitely changing the game. I use it to try and help me write things, research things, stuff like that. I don't think that's going away. So I think AI is a big deal. And then to focus more in on our industry, a lot of what I'm seeing and hearing from our customers is loading and unloading trucks autonomously. That one seems to be a big push.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've been creating a little AI agent for myself. It connects to my CRM and email and calendar, helps me
Mhm.
do all sorts of stuff for the day. It makes it so much easier. I can just stay in one tool.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two. One is broad, right? AI could be just about anything, but I also wanted to think of something that is more focused to our industry that we're hearing about, and that would be the truck loading and unloading.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So how do you think AI is going to help you down the road?
Good question. I'm not sure, but I know it will. I know it's already helped in some marketing where you have this thought and you throw it into AI and see what it comes out with, and you either like it and keep going, or you go, oh, that's terrible. I shouldn't have thought of that, and get rid of it. Looked at used it for some legal help. I've used it to rewrite things for LinkedIn. Of course, I want to put my own spin on it, but it definitely helps me sound smarter than I am. So that helps. Now, with the robots and things, I would say that probably when we get into, say, we had a potential customer, we did a POC where we started out at about 7 minutes cycle time, and they're like, hey, we've got to be sub 5 minutes. So the guys were working on the code, trying to go around the corners a little bit quicker and finding some time savings. I think that AI is going to be able to come in and do that for us if we tell it what to do, and it learns some code. We haven't done that yet, but I think that's going to be something it can do. And that would say that's probably that would be the main focus for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really
Mhm.
good at analyzing things, right? AI, and like you mentioned, legal. Like I run every contract through it. I'm like, all right, is this lopsided? Is it not? So try to,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. What are the gotchas or the pitfalls?
Yep.
For sure. Say it
So look,
saves time and sometimes some money.
yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah, it does, and it'll save headache down the road
Yes.
for sure. Looking ahead in the next 6 to 12 months, what do you think needs to change for your JLC Robotics to hit the next level?
So we were actively looking for a candidate to come in and help fill some gaps that we have, and we think we found that person. So we're going to move forward with them, and that's exciting, so that we can get back to working on the business and not so much in the business at times. I mean, we're still small and still have to wear some different hats, but that's going to be a big help to us. So that's one. We've been working on the website, and so we're going to be excited to roll that back out. I mean, we're kind of making the changes as we go. We've also hired someone that can do SEO. We've already seen some good activity with the SEO. They say it takes sometimes up to 6 months. I'd say after 1 to 2, we actually started seeing some activity, which was great. We're going up in the rankings. We're getting some people to fill out the form on our website and have a conversation with us. So those are the two biggies, and then maybe later in the year, towards the end of the year, we may be hiring another person depending on what the business need is.
Excellent. That's a great progress, great path you're on. If you could snap your fingers and fix one thing in your business today, what would that be?
Probably, if this counts, the number of at bats. We don't feel like we've got enough at bats, so we try to use LinkedIn, again, the website, the SEO, which is starting to come, but we feel like we've got such a great product and we can really help people. Yes, we're gonna make some money, but we feel that there's that soft underbelly, if you will, that we've talked about, of people who are maybe frustrated or don't know what to do. They know they need to do something, and maybe we're not the right fit, and that's okay. But if we could just get our message out even more, we think that some of these 3PLs and warehouses companies would be like, "Where have you been? I've been wanting to talk to you."
Yeah.
If that
Yeah, that's
counts,
great.
that's the number one for us.
Yep, visibility is key. Was there anything else you wish I would have asked? Anything I missed?
No, I've enjoyed your questions and given you answers, and is there anything that I can reciprocate for you?
As far as questions, I'm not really sure right now. I think my set is complete. But if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I'm on LinkedIn as Jamie Callahan. Could always email me at Jamie, Jamie, at jlcrobotics.com. Happy to try and help. And I would say that's probably the two easiest ways to get in touch with me.
Excellent. Well, this has been another episode of the Freight Forward Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you again next time.